catch up with you. You've got me email now, so you can always get a hold of us.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, sir.
No problem.
So, good morning to you, Sir Bob Neill, all the way from London. It's been a historic, I want to say it's a day or not, it's not even been a day yet. A very crazy 24 hours, to say the very least, when it comes to the political world and the political landscape as to how it's going to change between Gibraltar, the UK, and the EU, almost on the brink of 11 years since the Brexit referendum. Gibraltar and the UK and the EU have finally reached a deal. So Bob, over to you as to how that news has been received in the UK.
I think it's been received well. It hasn't had the level of coverage that it's had in Gibraltar, possibly because it came out on the same day as the financial review by the Chancellor of the Exchequer, which dominated the political headlines. But I think the feeling is positive. Certainly, those who I've spoken to, those who follow Gibraltar, know how important this deal is. It's not the final article, of course, it's not the final text, and we'll have to wait to see that. But the acceptance of a political agreement, the acceptance of the political will on all sides to have not just a temporary, but a lasting solution to the border issues and related matters is, I think, a really important breakthrough. And I think those who have worked on it recognise just how significant that is.
And how much significance is it as well to the fact that for once, and maybe for the first time in a very long time, or maybe it's the first time it's happened, that Gibraltar actually has had a voice within the European Union to get to these matters addressed?
I think that is important. And I think we, obviously, I say congratulations to David Lammy, the current Foreign Secretary, and Steve Doughty, his ministerial colleague, on their work. But I think we actually have to take a step back and almost go back to the time of the previous Conservative government, when we started to recognise that we were only going to get progress if Gibraltar was embedded in our negotiating team.
Yeah, and that's what's been key, yeah.
So the fact that we've worked in lockstep has, I think, enabled us to get to the position that we are, is to make sure that there is trust. Trust, for example, that sovereignty wouldn't be compromised, come what may, but trust also that there was a proper understanding of the nuances, which a lot of politicians in the UK, a lot of journalists in the UK, a lot of commentators don't always have. And maybe that's still work we have to do. There were some slightly misleading headlines in some of the British press who should have known better. But I thought the Chief Minister's statement put that back in the box quite quickly. I gather there'll be a statement in Parliament today in both houses by the ministers. So this is a culmination of work. So well done to David Lammy, but also well done to people like Dominic Raab, David Cameron, who we remember addressed National Day when he was Prime Minister a number of times, and to James Cleverly, who's come out to Gibraltar, and all of those behind the scenes made sure that we had kept the Gibraltar ministers and officials absolutely in the room. And I think that's a really important part of
that's the key, I think, the fact that it's been a joint collaboration, like not just obviously between Gibraltar and the UK, but obviously the Spanish government of the day, obviously, they've come into, I don't want to say to the rescue, but I think it's more of a case that they've wanted to better the relation, obviously, due to the fact that the frontier workers, and it's not even the frontier workers as well, like the campo the workers, and just the general population to prosper, and not to prosper an economy, and on both sides, where now what there will be more fluidity, there'll be no more problems, I'm hoping, in that sense. So there is a lot of senses of trust here, and I think that's the bonus.
I think that's right. It's a potential win-win. It will benefit the Campo. It will benefit our neighbours in Spain. And I'm glad that the Spanish government has seen that bigger picture and not been distracted by some of the internal politics. Credit to them, I think, for seeing the big picture there too. This will benefit Spanish citizens. It will benefit Gibraltarian citizens. And I think it will help as that part of that overall reset of the relations between the UK and the EU. For those of us who didn't want Brexit to happen, we've now had to live with the consequence. Yeah. Gibraltar, more than anyone, Britain owed Gibraltar this deal because we put you in a difficult position by the vote of a majority of our citizens. You stuck with the British family, but we had to deliver for you. I think we've now got a situation where we can. There will be a lot of hard work, I think, now, David, to put it into practical operation. And that's the bit that now we mustn't take the foot off the gas on.
And we think somebody summed it up yesterday. I was actually talking to someone about this, like just before it was announced, actually. and they were saying, "Oh, they're in Brussels," and like, yeah, that's what they're doing. I didn't really want to comment too much, and they just said it's like they've been on a search for plasters for 9 years and they finally found them. That's that's the best way to sum it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of sympathy. It's a nice way of putting it. I mean, we've been round the block so many times. I think the fact it's finally arrived, you had to pinch yourself a bit. But I think this can only be good news for everybody. And I think we're all going to look forward to the opportunities I think it's going to bring to Gibraltar. Very real opportunities for
economically. It's a huge step, I think, in that sense. I mean, they were just saying yesterday as well that this links Gibraltar to the rest of Europe as well, to like for the airports, like it could be connected to major European cities. Absolutely. And that's also, I think, a boom in the sense where our economy will thrive. Not that I had any doubts. With or without a deal, I think Gibraltar will always find a way. But the reality is that it just puts Gibraltar on the map on a better way. It will be more recognized, I think, in that way. And it could be a very huge step and a huge, huge stomping ground for those that want to travel within Europe and those that want to travel over. And I think when it comes to the UK and it comes to Channel Islands or anything else, it will be a momentous step in that sense as well. Because if we open up the border to flights to Jersey and then obviously to other parts of the UK, it's a huge thing, and we'll never. I think a lot of people need to see the bigger picture here, and on all three sides. I think a lot of people I've spoken to in the camp area are very happy, and also that's one thing we need to consider, I think, quite a lot. And when it's not that everything was on the line, because it was in an essence it was, but the bonuses that come from it, and like for them to be able to go to work without any issues and to tackle, I want to say, the crosses, because it wasn't really a case of them debating what was going to happen. It was more to debate the bonuses that they could benefit from. And
it's been very stroking, hasn't it? The way that municipal leaders and union leaders and business leaders in the camp have actually been putting their own government for a deal for this, because they see the benefits. And I think we've got to make sure that maybe it's obviously for Gibraltar to say, not for me as a friend in London, but I'm sure we'd all be supporting you if you want to build those collaborations and put that on a regular footing to make sure that the opportunities are really seized, David.
I mean, I think the bonus here as well, like, I mean, the Campo Mayor, the La Linea Mayor, sorry, when Franco was saying yesterday that, for example, he did get a call, obviously, from the minister's office. He got some from the Junta de Andalucia's office as well. So there is a lot of communication for the Campo Mayors to be in the know as to what's going to happen, and that something was struck yesterday afternoon. And more important than anything else, obviously, it didn't really happen as a breaking news sort of thing. It was just randomly sent us a tweet, and it just, obviously, with us in the media, got wave of it straight away, and then it just booms, and it was shared across the platforms. Yeah. But I think it's like everything else. It's been a very momentous step, and like I mentioned before, 11 days shy of those 9 years, 9 very long years, and like we rightfully say, with a lot of obstacles, unfortunately. But it's not just been an obstacle between the Gibraltar UK government. There's been also a lot of changes between the Spanish governments as well of the day. So we need to consider that as well. But the reality is that Pedro Sanchez's government from day one have wanted to finish and get this sorted as well. And in the same way, I dare say we have the high kudos need to go to Fabian and his team. I think in all uses of the word, they need to be applauded, regardless of your political allegiance. I think it's a win for Gibraltar. It's not a win for the GSLP Liberal governments.
It's a win for the country, isn't it?
And I think that's the bone. That's what people need to take away from it. You know, I don't think it's an issue of sure you're going to get your critics, and there's always going to be.
I'm sure we'll hear some of that as days go along, David. But people do need to step back, look at the bigger picture, look at the way uncertainty was beginning to take a toll. And how that would have simply got worse and worse. We couldn't carry on as we were. So this had to be got over the line, and well done to those who've done it, and I agree with you.
I mean, I think it's like everything else. I think we obviously we know that Fabian is wanting to step down. He did say that it was going to be his last election, and but I think now he can retire into the sun with his head held high in every sense of the word. I think there's a lot of bonuses that he's going to think. He's had a lot of turbulent time, like any other minister in the world, but obviously he had to deal with this, and he had the pandemic in the way as well, which obviously thanks to the British governments, that was handled very beautifully as well. But there is a lot to be thankful for in that sense. Obviously, we're still only, like I said, not even 24 hours since the announcements, and obviously the press release was sent out. But I think it's a bonus, and that's what we need to take away from it. And do we need to buckle up? I'm sure we have to, but I have faith that things will be sound in every sense of the word.
I think one of the things that it's always struck me over the years I've been coming to Gibraltar is that the Gibraltarian people do have that optimism that you've just expressed, and that you find a way around things.
Always.
We found a way, no doubt, but this is a much better way to be able to do things collaboratively with our neighbours in Spain than alternatives. And I think in that positive spirit, I've always, the thing that I love about Gibraltar is actually it's a very, very positive place.
Yeah, and you can obviously you come over quite often. It's like your second home. I want to say it's second nature for you to say that in a very good way.
Well, it's become almost a second home, and I'm looking forward to coming over as soon as I can.
Yeah, obviously, last time I spoke to you, we obviously had just been. It was just announced that you were going to be bestowed the Freedom of the City for your work that you've done for us in the UK, and the lobbying that you've done for us in the UK. Any dates as to when that's going to happen?
I think we're hoping to do it. Got to finalise it, obviously, with the Mayor and the Chief Minister's office, but we're hoping to do it around the week of National Day.
Okay, so
that will make sense because a lot of my London friends and other people who work with me will be out there then anyway, so that would be quite a nice if that works. But I'm hoping I'll be over before then.
I think the coup for National Day this year would be if Fabian and his governments would be able to bring over David Lammy, as also give him a hero's welcome, because his statement was sporadic.
Well, I remember always arguing to get foreign secretaries there. In the past, we've had ministers, if you remember, though.
Of course, yeah.
Not I think the top man. We usually got the Minister of State.
Yeah, that's good enough.
We had Alan and so on. So let's see if we get the top dog from the Foreign Office. That would be great. That will send a message.
I think it's the time for unity. I think in that sense where we need to celebrate what's been achieved, and I think National Day will be a lot more significant this year. I mentioned to Fabian last year, when I spoke to him on National Day, actually. Does it become more significant every year because of what's looming and what's been hanging over our heads for the last 9 years? But now I think it'll be more patriotic than ever, maybe, and in that sense, and it's a bonus, if it is as patriotic and people come out in the masses like they used to, because I feel National Day has been on a bit of a decline in the last 3 years, even prior to Brexit. And everything happened in 2016.
But it gives the chance for everybody, the country, the economy. It gives you a chance to have a reset now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think now we're going to have the budgets. And I think in the next few weeks, Fabian will deliver his address, and obviously, I think we'll need to look at what's working, what's not. Obviously, that's like everything else. But I think I'm confident that the economy is thriving. I don't really have any doubts. I mean, look around Gibraltar. There's a lot of private investments into various other things as well. So there's not really a lot of damage to Gibraltar PLC when it comes to finances in that sense, which is a bonus. And of course, there is other things that they can work on, which that's a story for another day. That's something to talk to the governments of the day. But at the same time, in the 14 years almost since he was elected, I don't think we can complain. He's had a lot to handle, and he's handled it, and he's steered the ship very beautifully. And I think that's one thing that needs to be addressed and applauded.
Well, I've always worked with chief ministers of all parties, but credit to Fabian, credit to all in Gibraltar who worked on it. And who knows what the future holds for individuals. I sent Fabian a message saying well done last night, people regardless of party make big sacrifices when they go into politics. That's true in Gibraltar, that's true in the UK as well, and we ought to give credit to people who are prepared to stand up and take leadership in political life. They get a lot of brickbats thrown at them, but it's done for a cause. And the motives on all sides, I always think are the right ones, even if we might disagree as to how to get there. And that maybe is a good basis upon which we ought to try and come together. Here's an example where a Labour government in the UK has carried on the groundwork of a Conservative government. We managed to get it over the line together with the Gibraltar government and with different political persuasions in Spain as well. So, this has been done, and it does prove that when people collaborate and get beyond the tribal party differences, you can get somewhere. And so that's a good message, I think, for us to take away, and credit to everybody who's done that.
I think the key words we can use here is forget competition and just use the word collaboration, like you're right.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, no, and
I think also, and another bonus, I think also, like I think probably Fabian and his government have something to boast about in a very positive way here, where obviously Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, obviously sent him a message, and he spoke to him on the phone yesterday evening on his way back from Brussels. So that's a huge thing, I think, and Fabian was very happy to get that support from the Prime Minister. Obviously he can't do it without him, and his cabinet and David Lammy, and we can't really forget that either. But I think it's a beautiful time, I think, to cement that relationship that has always existed between Gibraltar and the UK. I think now it's more legitimized now with David Lammy coming over, even if it was sporadically.
And very symbolically, very importantly, he actually came and then went off to Brussels with Fabian.
Yeah.
You can see the practicality. It meant he could brief the Gibraltar cabinet firsthand. Yeah. But the fact that they recognise the importance of that, I think, is an important step.
I mean, I wasn't at that press call yesterday. Obviously, when Lammy arrived in Gibraltar, when he was going into number 6 yesterday morning, but I was in my day job takes priority there. I mean, when I saw the footage, what I saw was a lot of optimism on David Lammy's face. People were saying that he looked a bit worried. I saw him with a very confident walk. Just that those.
I think he was quite tired because he'd been doing stuff in the House of Commons, as you know. I mean, there'd be quite a lot going with the Israel Gaza things, but he didn't let that get in the way of coming to Gibraltar. So I think that's
and in 8 hours, he was here, like we rightfully say, he just came, he slept, he woke up, had his breakfast, had this meeting, flew over to Brussels, and within less than 24 hours, he made that happen. And obviously, it's the life of a politician, we always say, but the daunting task and how tiring it must be as well, isn't it?
Even in my small way as a minister, it's grueling. But I think foreign secretary, any foreign secretary, any chief minister, this is a.
I mean, it's a threat,
an all-consuming job, and you can't do it for forever. And like Fabian's done it for 14 years. Other people have been prime ministers in the UK for a long time. That takes a toll. You've got to hand it to their resilience to have done it, and that's been a good show.
Well, it's a beautiful thing. I mean, that slam dunk is it was rightfully shown in the footage. I mean, obviously as well when they were just before they were boarding the plane, obviously that handshake, and that said it all. I mean, that Fabian tweeted out that picture yesterday afternoon as well, and it's one of those moments that we'll remember forever. I think, both David Lammy's arrival to the moments he steps out of the convent to go into number 6, and it's been all very rapid in the last 24, and I think it's going to be a fruitful time, I think.
I'd agree with you there, David. Yeah, I think it will be.
So we'll see. Fabian's due to arrive in Gibraltar, I think, this morning. I think
as he arrives back, as you know, yeah. Okay.
So he is homeward bound because he tweeted out a picture a little while ago.
Right, yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Obviously, he'll probably get a hero's welcome, I think. And there is.
I'm sure it'll be well received, yeah. I'm going to see watch the statement in Parliament. The statement in the House of Commons first, I reckon, about sometime after 11 this morning UK time, and I know the Gibraltar office in London will be there, just to keep an eye. And I imagine there'll be a statement in the House of Lords later on as well. So.
And also today, Fabian, before we get that, I want to say that little bit of a welcome. Besides up to number 6 today is the King's Birthday Parade here. So,
of course, yes. Yes, of course.
So there is, I suppose there'll be a mountain of expectation, obviously, because it is probably the most significant one yet.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, so obviously, if they play the national anthem, we all know that all signs are going to point to Fabian and say thank you very much for what he's done. But like everything else, it's a very symbolic sign. And like we rightly said, it's going to be one of those we have to keep a very close eye on, not that we joust our ministers on both sides, on all three sides rather, but we need to enjoy the ride. I mean, that picture certainly speaks volumes yesterday. I think it's a beautiful picture. I think it's one that Fabian will probably ends up getting framed and have in his office. And so,
we all have those sometimes. Yeah, I've got to have that picture.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those. It's such a momentous picture as well, and
yeah, surely
it's not just a Kodak picture, a Kodak moment. It's just a symbolic moment in our history. Let's just leave it at that.
Absolutely right, David. Great. Look, great to talk to you, David.
Likewise, Sir Bob. We'll actually catch up. I'll probably see you if it is bound to be before National Day, like your Freedom of the City.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing you then. And in London, always happy to see my friends from Gibraltar.
Always the same thing here.
With a bit of luck, I may be out soon, but it's great to talk. And you do an important job, making sure that this is the information's out there for people. So
I try my best.
Great to talk to you again, David.
Likewise, Sir Bob. Have a good day. Thanks very much.
Bye.